Good evening and welcome to the Parent Academy Power Hour, Know Your Community Resources. My name is Sheila Kane and I'm the District Coordinator for Family and Community Engagement for Pinellas County Schools. We're happy you've taken the opportunity to participate tonight. Let's take a minute and just cover some of the virtual ground rules. Participants, we would ask that you would stay muted when you're not asked to unmute and speak. It just makes the session easier, especially as we gain participants here. If you're comfortable and you can turn your camera on, that would be great because we love to see your beautiful faces and it feels more like we're actually in a room and learning together. If not, we understand. We've all had those evenings or those meetings that we want to join but not have the camera on. So tonight we're going to use the chat box for questions, and please go ahead and put your questions in the chat as you think of them. Don't wait till the end, although we will wait till the end to address them in our Q&A section. But go ahead and we may actually answer them in the chat if it's easy, or share resources that way. So it's a good little box to have open. If you've not opened your chat in Zoom before, you just hover over the screen till your meeting controls come up, and there's a little conversation bubble which will open the chat. I think it defaults to sending the chat to everyone, so make sure whatever you're saying you want everyone to see. Or you can choose someone to direct your chat message to if you see somebody you really want to have that conversation. Anyway, tonight we're grateful for our partnership with the Juvenile Welfare Board and the Personal Enrichment Through Mental Health Service Organization, or more affectionately known as PEMS. Our presenter is Courtney Covington this evening, and she is the Director of Community and Family Services. Courtney, it's all yours.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for attending. I'm a very easy kind of go with the flow person, so I have a lot of information to cover, but it's more important that you get the information that you need. So I know Jamie and Sheila will be helping with the chat, so it would be important for me to make sure that we can answer questions. And at the end of this presentation, I do have my email address, and please use it. That's one of the best community resources, is that we just stay connected with people. But certainly everyone is dealing with a lot right now, and circumstances for families and individuals are very different. It's quite possible are very different now than they were 9 months ago. And as your community, we understand that, and you could be in a position now where you need resources that never even crossed your mind before. So that's the focus that this presentation was created with. And there's a whole world out there of social services. Pinellas County is, we would say, rich with services and resources. And what that means is there's a lot of social workers and school personnel that work to make sure if someone is in need, we can get those needs met. And we realize that at times it can be scary and frustrating, but the key is the resources are available, and hopefully with this presentation, we can help to better educate people. How do you get linked to them? So let's get started. We'll go to the second slide. There you go. So here's what we're going to do tonight. Community resources, discovering the easy button. So we'll go to the next one. The first thing you need to do, if you are in a position where you find yourself in need of services or resources, you really just have to stop. It can be a crisis kind of time, and certainly we all understand that, but take a deep breath, stop, and try to figure out, what exactly do I need? And why that is helpful. One, it'll speak to the uniqueness of your family and your situation, but it will also help direct you to the right resource at the right time, rather than having you run around and get sent from this resource to here to there. That would just aggravate you even more. So just take a minute, figure out what the need is, write it down, and really try to zero in what is it that your family needs. And we'll go to the next slide. So these are some good questions. We work with thousands and thousands of families. So we would say these are well-tested questions to start with. But what is that immediate need? And then, is it a big need? Is it a reoccurring need? Is this something that's ongoing? Like, am I finding that I need rent every month or utilities? Because that's helpful information as well. And then certainly when we are stressed, it's maybe shortens our vision to see what it is long term that's really going to be helpful for us, because we're so focused on what we need this second. So sometimes when you go for resources, you will be asked to maybe think of it longer term. And that's why you're being asked that. We can fix the immediate, but we need to step back and see what's on the horizon, what's going to be a strength producer for you long term. So that's what that third question means. And the next slide. So within our county, we have a structure that 211 is our centralized resource and service information. So we would tell you that 211 is a good place to start. But there's lots of things about 211 that people may or may not know. Yes, you can call in, and that's just call direct 211. Or if you text to 898-211 and you put your zip code in, you will get a pop-up of resources that come. They're available to you within that zip code, but then they're also itemized, like food, rent, utilities, clothing, transportation. So then you can navigate through that and pick what's best for you. You can also visit this website, the same thing. It will prompt you to put your zip code in, and then you would click on the category that's best going to help you or meet what your need is. Next slide, please. So 211 is an information center that keeps all up-to-date information on every available resource and service within our county. And then these are some examples: a food pantry, shelter, then specific program supports. That would be a program. When we use that term, means that you would need to participate in it. So it's a service that's more than a one-time intervention. It would be ongoing. All of this is voluntary though. So sometimes that's good to know. Sometimes when you need a resource or a service and you're having an emergency, you kind of forget that you own the power to decide whether it's the right connection for you and your family. But it's all voluntary. So you can hear about it, make a decision if that's good for you, or right at this time, or whatever you would need to weigh to make a good decision. But so within 211, there's information on education, tutoring, transportation, employment, clothing, furnishings, like small housewares, beds, things of that nature. So there's a wide variety. Thanks. And some things for 211 you may need to call into, but for the most part, you can do things through, this is one thing that we do with every family we work with, is have them download this free 211 app. And at your fingertips with this app, you will have access to all the information that the 211 operator has. So we would strongly suggest that that's a really good place to start, is to put the 211 app on your phone. Next slide, please. So something that's happening in our community, in our county, that is different than it has been is we have federal COVID care dollars. And those have been active since April. They're very specific. They're also a huge help. And maybe this is a great slide for folks that joined us this evening, but we would want everyone to know this. So the COVID Cares is a federally funded program that is in our community. It's for individuals and families, and it does have some caveats to it. So you have to have some type of COVID-related qualifying event. You were at work and your hours were reduced. You had a job, but then your children were home because schools were closed, and you lost your job because you had to stay with your kids because there was no daycare. And these are things that probably rang true for March, April, May, June, the summer, and could still be true. So you would just need to link some form of a COVID-related reason for why you are behind. And what this program allows is $5,000, up to $5,000 for every household, whether you're an individual or a family. And it can be used to pay rent, mortgage, utility bills. So that's a huge help. And you will sign an attestation form confirming that these things are true. And one of them is that you have less than $10,000 in a savings account. You're a Pinellas County resident, you have a family or an individual, and then they would need the information about what your bills are that you're in need of help with. So you can do this yourself. You can send in all that information, and the website's below in the bottom in the orange there. Or next slide, please. What is happening also is we have neighborhood family centers, and these are the addresses of them. And at every neighborhood family center, you can make an appointment or do a walk-in, and someone there will help you put together your COVID care packet and send it into 211. So you kind of have two ways of doing it. Now, so that's COVID care funds, which is a huge help right now. It's helping lots of people. But also I want to share a little bit more about these neighborhood family centers. They are funded by JWB, which is one of the hosts tonight for this presentation, but also they're located throughout the county. They have specialties. We have the Family Center on Deafness, so that may be something that would help you. There's the Lellman Asian Center. There's a Hispanic Outreach Center. Those are somewhat specialized. However, all of these centers that are listed are available to any community member. So you don't, you could show up at the Family Center on Deafness and someone there will help you. These are placed within the community. So I suggest, this is something else we do for all our families, is we figure out for them what is the closest community center, the closest neighborhood family center for them. Each center is run independently, so they're not all cookie cutters of each other, but they do reflect and support the neighborhood and the community that they would be serving. Most of them have summer programs, summer camps, some have Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, sewing circles, some have counselors on site. There's food, they could have help with utilities, there's reading programs, tutoring programs, drum circles, dance classes, all kinds. They're like mini little recreation centers or a social service center, but I tell everybody should visit their neighborhood family center, and that's a great place to start if you're stuck and you need resources or services and you just don't know where to go. So number one is 211. That's going to be all done maybe technically. Number two is get yourself to your local community neighborhood family center. Next slide, please. And then also don't forget your schools. Schools are built with integrated supports for students and families. So each school may be slightly different than the school next door, but for the most part, every school has family liaisons, there's community liaisons, all schools have social workers, some have more than one social worker, you have a guidance counselor, some schools have therapists, some have behavior specialists, school psychologists, and some schools have navigators. All schools have PTAs. All schools are created not only with an education support in mind, but also community outreach and engagement. So if you were to go to the front office of your school, and that is also a good starting point. Another thing, the schools partner with agencies like mine, PEMS, or other community agencies. And so if they didn't have the services on site, they would certainly be knowledgeable on how to link you to services. So your schools are a good place to start as well. Next slide, please. So I always say, let's not forget our oldies but goodies. And these are agencies that have been around for a long time in Pinellas County. And they support those in need with utilities, rents, maybe sometimes rent, not so much, but always worth a shot. Utilities, yes. They have summer programming for teens. I know POC does, where if you went to 6 weeks of classes and you're a teen, at the end, they've typically earned like a $500 gift card so they could then go school shopping. They have unique supports that have been around for decades in Pinellas County. And if you were to reach out to any Catholic Charities, Pinellas Opportunity Council, or Urban League, you will find help at the end of that phone call or an email or something. These are old, proven cornerstones of support within our community. So I like to share about them as well. Next slide, please. So these are our golden treasures. These are places that folks may not know about, but they do tremendous work for the community. Daystar has also been around, like Urban League and POC, for decades and decades. It just moved to a brand new building. It is gorgeous. It is just so current with its layout and has more volunteers than I've ever seen anywhere to help people, and offers a wide variety, including they have raised beds for gardens. So if you needed fresh vegetables, you could go there. Wonderful, wonderful people. These are great partners. We work with them. And I will tell you, if you get to Daystar, and sometimes you have to wait in the lobby before someone can help you, you do not leave empty-handed. There is help. They're great problem solvers, and they're tremendous help within our community. JHOP, or the John Hopkins Resource Center, is run by United Way. It's a newer place, but we certainly have partnered with them quite a bit, and they're in the community building behind John Hopkins at the back of the bus parking lot and pickup circle. And Thursdays, they have one of the best fresh food. They have meat and vegetables and all kinds of things. It's one of the best food giveaways, and we partner with them, and our staff goes and helps every Thursday. They had big fat strawberries and blueberries the other day. So all kinds of things. And then they also can help with if you needed a notary, kind of business type things. And they're kind of new, about a year old, and they're structuring and still connecting in the community, but wonderful people there. And if you walked in, someone would help you. Next slide, please. So with J-HOP would be South County, and North County, we have the North Greenwood Resource Center. That's also a United Way resource center. The two, J-HOP and North Greenwood Resource Center, similar to the neighborhood family centers, but much smaller, but the same message. If you got yourself there, someone is there to help you. They also have a wonderful food giveaway 11 to 1 on Thursdays, and that's been tremendously helpful for families as well. And these are both drive-through events. I should probably mention that. So you never get out of your car. And so it's COVID safe, and certainly I know it's helping a lot of families. I included the PAL, that's the Police Athletic League, but the PAL centers, there's a great one in Lellman. There's another one in St. Pete. These are really great programs, lots of variety. They have after school tutoring. They will go to the moon and beyond to help kids and get them involved. And they're wonderful partners. We've worked with them on lots of different things, but these are areas that you may not think about that would offer support for your family. So I like to include those. Next slide, please. So for this presentation, I just kind of covered all the major headers of needs. And certainly for some, shelter is needed, and evictions have the potential to be a real concern coming up. But the community is here, and there's supports in place. We don't want people to be evicted or to lose their home. That certainly is traumatic on so many levels. But at times, families find themselves homeless. So I wanted to make sure we covered some of this. The Homeless Leadership Alliance takes the lead in homelessness in Pinellas County. So that phone number, that email address, that's a great place to start. There's very knowledgeable people, and there's many different supports, as is Reach St. Pete, a bit of a newer resource, but doing tremendous things. And what we tell people is you want to reach out for home stabilization far before you get to the point of eviction, or it's inevitable that you will be homeless. There's a lot more that social services can do to help you prior to a homeless event. However, next slide, please. If you do find that you are homeless, there are things that you can do to advocate, and you have a lot of power. You just need to know the knowledge. So Grace House is a wonderful transition facility, and it's called Transitional Housing, which means they're set up like little apartments. You do call. I will say that most all of the shelters, Grace House for one, They do a drug test, and you do have to pass that. And all shelters have rules, but they're just rules to keep everybody safe, and they really aren't rules that are so strict that it would, that being on the street would be better than there. But I do like people to know that. Resurrection House has been around for a while, but they have a brand new CEO, and she's absolutely wonderful. And for them, you do a phone call, and then they interview you over the phone, and they have the availability of apartments as well. Transitional housing, just to kind of back up a bit. Transitional housing isn't designed for you to stay there for long term. Typically, it's about 3 months. And the idea is you're not in a homeless shelter, you're in an apartment, and they have case managers available, and they're working with you to secure permanent housing. So it's a transition place, but it's very safe, they're well run, they're integrated into community services, and certainly we've used those with our families for decades. Safe Place to Be is a shelter. It's a unique shelter. They're absolutely wonderful. And this is a great resource. Hopefully no one will need it, but if you do need it, it's a great resource. Sometimes teens, especially, this is for about 9 or 10, I believe 10 is as young as they go, through 17. You can be there on your 18th birthday, but it's 10 to 17. And sometimes older kids will feel like they have all the answers and they don't want to be at home anymore. And there's a lot of arguing back and forth, and it's unpleasant. And the Safe Place to Be offers a 30-day respite for youth and teens, just to kind of give parents an ability to kind of recenter, give the kids a time so they can kind of recenter. They run an excellent program. They have therapists there, they have staff on board, and all the children still maintain going to their regular school. But it has proven to be just a wonderful gift for many, many families, because anyone who raises teens, it's not always sunshine and roses. So this is respite, and it does give a break for families and teens. Salvation Army North and Salvation Army South are two agencies that have family apartments, family style. And the North is a big complex. Sometimes you would call, you'd get information. I know for Salvation Army North, you have to be readily working or engaged in school. So sometimes the various different shelters or transitional housing would have definitions on them. And Salvation Army South, they have separate family apartments. And I haven't heard, you can be looking for employment, but you don't have to come in employed. Next slide, please. So one thing that has come up quite a bit with COVID and the changes that we're going through as a community is we've had a lot of food needs. So the Break Spot food pantry information, Meals on Wheels, right at that website is a great one to start with. We also have a lot of mobile food pantries that are popping up. I know we do one on our campus one time a month, and it's a drive-through. And then of course, schools have free breakfast and lunch for every student. Every student gets free breakfast, and then there are some qualifiers for the lunch. And I know in high schools, they're doing the Rise after school program, which is wonderful. It's from 2 to 3:30 and kids can do their homework, they get tutoring, the teachers oversee it. It's been a great support. And then at 3:30, they get a meal. So there are a lot of resources that have developed even more over the past few months to help with food. So we certainly, within our county, no one should be hungry or hurting for food. And we would definitely want to make sure that we get connected on that. So sometimes needs can be a little bit greater than basic life needs, rent, utilities, transportation, employment. And you might be under so much stress that you may need some behavioral health or mental health needs. And that makes sense. We're all under tremendous stress these days. So listed first is PIMS. That's the organization that I represent. And the 541 number can be called at any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Someone will always answer, and you can be linked with anything from, I just need someone to talk to. I'm feeling lonely. I'm scared. These are different times, up to, I don't know what to do in this situation. And someone will always answer the phone and guide you. The next number is a suicide hotline number, the same thing, 24/7. It is always answered. And sometimes you may just be thinking of harmful thoughts, and calling that number can help get you connected to the support you need. It is also connected to something that is called Wellness Connection, and it will link you with the right community partner and service at the right time. So both of those are service linkage as well as support call numbers. MCRT, the Mobile Crisis Response Team, is really good for anyone in the school system to be aware of, and that main number is listed there too. And what that is a support for our county, anyone that is in immediate need. And this was created in our county. People were calling 911, but they weren't really having police type or ambulance need type emergencies. And then really it turned out it wasn't quite an emergency, but they just didn't know what to do. And there was some mental health, I need to talk to somebody. Well, this is great. Someone answers the phone, they help make an assessment, and if need be, someone can be with you within the hour or less. So that's a mobile crisis response team. And that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then we talked about the Wellness Connection. Suncoast Center is one of the community mental health agencies within Pinellas County. They would be like PEMS, but just another agency. They do great work. We make referrals to them all the time. And the good thing is about our county is, let's say you live in North County but you're calling Suncoast. If they'll figure out, is it more convenient for you to be at an agency that's more North County, and we refer to each other. So you're not locked in. These are all helpful, global for anyone in need. Next slide, please. So directions for Living is a community mental health agency. The Suncoast PEMS directions, community mental health agencies. You can call any one of them and they'll direct you to the right service for you and your family. Gulf Coast Jewish Family Services, that would be the same. They also have senior services, which is nice. That's a different change for them. Family Resources, smaller agency, but they do run the Safe Place to Be. They have great teen programs. They have outpatient. We work with them quite a lot also. Next slide. So I wanted to touch on, and we can run through these somewhat quickly, but it's important to know that there is available medical help that offers a wide variety too. So one is the community health centers of Pinellas County. They're wonderful. They're for the underinsured, or if you just, for whatever reason, do not have insurance. They can take care of school physicals. They do all kinds of things, and they're very easy to work with. Very, very helpful. Next slide, please. So some of what they offer, they do have therapists on site. They do telehealth, nutrition, chiropractic, they have a wide variety. But what I want you to know about this, it's a community health agency that provides a wide variety of healthcare. So if you don't have insurance or you're underinsured, you don't have to do without. You don't have to minimize. I've really not seen anything that they can't help with. Next slide, please. And there's 12 of them all over, plus they run a mobile health center. And so I would encourage you to visit their website. Next slide, please. And then most people are familiar with the Florida, our Pinellas County Health Department, and they have lots of different supports and resources, super nice, great facilities. But just so there's the community health centers, and then there's the health department. So lots of avenues to get medical type assistance. Next slide, please. And then that's their main number. Someone's always available. The phone will be answered. And when you go to their website, I think you do have the ability to send an email too, and they're very good with communication. Next slide, please. One of the great resources we have is we have a mobile medical unit in Pinellas County, and they do lots of events. They show up different places, and if for nothing else, it's amazing. If you've ever done Touch a Truck, they're always there. It is like when that truck opens up and gets much bigger, but it is like walking into a real doctor's office or mini clinic. And they've done great things. The staff that works them, they're nurses that have to learn how to drive that big tractor trailer. They do all kinds of stuff. So that's worth knowing about as well. Next slide, please. Here's one of our favorite partners, Preserve Vision, nicest people on the planet. They do free vision screening for children and adults and free glasses for children. But I will tell you, we've never had an adult turned away by them. And I will say that Preserve Vision are the folks that come into the schools and do the school eye screening for the kids. But here's their information, and they are available at any time. You don't have to wait for a school screening, and they seriously are there to help, and they're just the nicest people. Next slide, please. So I didn't want to leave out, all of this heavy medical stuff, but also there's dental clinics that are available. I would definitely recommend that you would want to call and get the information. It does seem to change a bit, and go on their website. But a lot of times they will have, you can come Saturday and it's teeth cleaning, and they'll set you up with a care plan or different things. So it is an avenue for dental health, and it's being developed all the time. So I do recommend for that one, just to make sure you call or go to the website so that you're getting the most accurate information. Next slide, please. And we wanted to share, this is a wonderful partner, and there's a lot of adult education opportunities. So I would go to their website. We listed some of them out, free tutors, GED, which is huge, help. And they're very eager to help put together a plan that is right for you and your schedule and your obligations. Next slide, please. They have several locations all over the county, and I would just call and talk with them. And like I said, they're very committed to putting together the right plan for you and your needs. Next slide. So those are additional locations. And then the next slide just kind of gives you a sense of what they offer. So they really, you could call them and they can put something together that would meet an adult need. And they're very welcoming and hugely supportive. Next slide, please. So Career Source is one of our most favorite partners, because many times if you are in need of rent assistance or gas, food, things like kind of the basic things to run your household, and that seems to be a need that's coming every month or two, then typically what we would do with families is work with them and Career Source to look at what can we do to kind of bring in more income into your family so that we can alleviate what seems to be an ongoing need. And Career Source is the spot. They have all kinds of activities, and right now they are offering free certificate training at any St. Pete college. And certificate training typically is about 4 to 6 weeks. And the last I heard when we talked with them, they're almost guaranteeing job placement at the end of that. So the website on the bottom of this slide is what will lead you to those free trainings. It's free education at St. Pete College for these training certificate programs. And they have a certain list of them. And you can be out of school youth, a dislocated worker, which would apply for things that have happened due to COVID. So you were working, but now where you worked is cut back to 3 days a week. That would fit that. So we always encourage people to go there. Next slide, please. They have 3 locations. You can call to schedule an appointment. You can also go to that website and complete your registration and schedule an appointment that way as well. And sometimes what we found, sometimes just walking in cold to Career Source can be a bit overwhelming. So we do suggest calling and talking with someone first, kind of getting all your initial questions answered, get some more information on what would help you the best and what you're looking for. They have a wide variety of programs and supports. And then maybe looking around on the website. But we have found feedback from families that walking in just cold without having a little connection beforehand can be overwhelming. And sometimes that can be defeating, and we sure don't want that. We want people to engage in all the programs. Next slide, please. So tips and tricks. These are some new things or some by the wayside that people forget. Aunt Bertha is something new that we found. This would be similar to the 211 app, but it is newer. You load it, you put in your zip code, and immediately what's around you pops up. And we've been using that a lot lately. We like it a lot. A lot of people don't know, but the bus system has something called disadvantaged bus passes. So a bus pass for the month could be about $65. And just through this program, you can get a bus pass for $11.64 a month, and it's ongoing. And that's been a tremendous help for people. So we put that one up there. Close to kids, very well known within the school system. That used to be their rules were you could get clothes once every 6 months. And now they've removed that, and you can get clothes when you need them. And they also are helping with school uniforms. So those are two great changes that they've made kind of recently, within the last year, I think. And then the next slide, always remember that any church or house of worship is a really great starting point to go to if you are in need of services, because churches, houses of worship, that's where social work started. So there's typically some type of food pantry, or they know someone, and the idea is getting linked. So if you get yourself somewhere, you're able to talk about what your needs are. These are knowledge points where people can then get you linked to the right service. And then I always like to say the libraries, they have wonderful free programming from little tiny tots to teens, and they're great programs and they're free. And in the summer, you need some cool air conditioning or some activities with the kids, and they just do a great job. And I think sometimes we forget about our libraries. And the next slide, please. So there you go. And that's my information. And email me or whatever would help you, or if you need clarification, or you remember, wait, I was on this Zoom thing and there was this lady, just email me. I'll get back to you and we'll figure it out. And our last slide is questions. So if you have any questions or need clarification or something didn't get covered, it will try to answer it for you.
Okay, so I'm looking for questions in the chat. If you have any questions, you can write them in the chat, but you also can raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask. I know we put a bunch of resources into the chat. I also uploaded the PowerPoint and PDF form in the chat, so you guys can check it out. I put it up again so it's relevant. And okay, Courtney, we have a question.
Oh, good.
Will Safe Place to Be work for students with disabilities?
I'm not sure enough to answer that. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I would say absolutely call them. And that's a good place to start, because I have heard that there is some type of respite for children with disabilities. It doesn't work the same as the 30 days, but you get like a few hours a weekend or one weekend. I'm just not knowledgeable enough about that, but I would definitely call and talk with them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for other questions, seeing if anyone has their hands raised.
And we did want to share, we learned today that next Friday, October 30th from 9 to 10, 211 is going to hold a town hall that deals with evictions. And if anyone is dealing with that situation, they're going to have a panel discussion, and it will all be based on supportive resources. There's also a lawyer that will be part of that. And that's next Friday, 9 to 10, October 30th, which may be helpful.
Could I find that on the 211 website?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And right now, Salvation Army is accepting registrations for their Toys for Tots program. So that might be something that's helpful for people. And then PEMS, which is us, always runs Holiday Lane, and that will be December 14th through the 18th. And we'll be sending out a registration link, and you can register from November 2nd through December 4th.
Courtney,
we'll-
do you mind sending that information?
Yes,
to me?
yeah,
And I'll get it to Sheila so she can send it out to everyone who registered, since that's not in the PowerPoint.
great. Thank you.
I don't see any questions as of now. I know you covered a lot. We're just getting comments. Very informative session. And my cat.
Should we go ahead and wrap things up, I guess? There's a, last minute question that can always go into the chat. I think there aren't any questions, Courtney, or many questions, because you were amazing. You've covered in a just a totally comprehensive way, everything anybody could think of and more about our community resources. And it's right, you said rich, our community is rich in resources, and it's heartwarming really to think about that. And it's so obvious after your presentation tonight. Nobody wants to need any of them, but it's, beautiful to know that they're there and that we can access them and reach out to so many different places and people and find help when we need it. All of us, we're always, you find yourself in different seasons, and that's what happens. So
Absolutely.
all right, before I start crying, I'm going to go ahead and end. Families, thank you so much for joining us. We have had some other attendees from other agencies, and that's great because, it just gets the word out and gets the information to the people that it needs to be with. The recording link and all those information, resources, phone numbers, addresses, links, and websites will be in your email tomorrow. Everything is always available also on our Pinellas County Schools Parent Academy website, and it's easy to find. It's pcsb.org/Parent Academy. So our next Parent Academy coming up is on October 27th, and the topic is digital parenting, how to stay ahead. And isn't that a relevant topic as well? So we'll look forward to a lively discussion with our partners at Cyber Safety Education something. I'm sorry, I don't have the right full title, but great people. And that's in session information and registration links. That's back on the pcsb.org/Parent Academy website as well. So we'll end now, and just thanks again, everyone. Unless there's any last minute questions in the chat, we can just say have a great evening to everyone. And thank you, Courtney.
Oh,
Thank
for
you,
sure.
Courtney.
Good luck.
Awesome job. Awesome job. Thank you.
Bye. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.